the internet is being used for many interesting things, and it's being abused. This week, it has been abused in the sense that Baby Shark has now become the most viewed video on YouTube of all times, according to The Verge.
Personal favorite.
Of all times. Anyone with a kid out there knows exactly what probably you don't have a kid and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Baby Shark is the insane brainchild of Pinkfong, which is a South Korean educational company. They call themselves. They've got apps. They've got several YouTube channels, and basically it's like this insane repetitive short, like Baby Shark. Do, 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 do. And the problem is like kids, they just love that shit. It goes, this little loop, it like goes in their mind and they just like repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And I'll say with Elliot, our first child, we heard it like on repeat for months.
Yeah, same with
months. That and like Wheels on the Bus. To the extent where like you hear it all of a sudden, you're like singing it. Like you're a parent when you're like at the grocery store and you're doing this with the chart, like with the cart. Like it's not a stroller, it's just a habit. You're doing this and you're singing Baby Shark to yourself. And you see another parent that like sees you and they're just like, oh my God, you're one of us,
Yeah, she's singing the song.
Yeah, you're doing the Baby Shark. And I think it's just like, again, there's been COVID. There's been the surge and like, kids are at home, they're watching YouTube. So a lot of the kids' content, I think on YouTube, on like the top 10, it's always a competition between music and baby, like kid stuff. So it was this Despacito song that was like the number one.
Yeah, a few years ago, it was a huge
song. It was like, people love that song. I was never a huge favorite of it, but it was number one for 3 years. And then comes COVID, which changes our habits and our consumption patterns, and this song just like skyrockets. And I think there's some pretty impressive things with it. For example, Pinkfong has made over $6.5 million just in ad earning from people playing
that single song.
Single
video.
Like, how much do you think that cost to produce? Like, nothing.
Yeah, they probably just made it for fun, not even realizing what it's going to be.
Yeah, and actually I'm torn between those two because I'm not sure. Because on the one hand, you think some creative person perhaps did a lot of drugs and thought up this like crazy colorful universe with sharks and like made that terrible jingle. And then it was a hit. But then on the other end, you look at some of the things that have been trending and you see they're coming out of some of the same stuff. A lot of it's coming out of South Korea with the Gangnam Style too. There's this whole, they're using like lessons learned from K-pop. They have some of the biggest cinema in the world. I tend to be on the side that thinks it's completely pre-calculated. That is some good advertising. Like those are some good creative people.
But people are crazy. Look at the things we're drawn to, like all the stupid shit that's out there, and we give it shitload of attention.
Yeah, and I think that actually Pinkfong, they do a lot of the same stuff like my Baby Bum, which is owned by Moonbug Ventures, which also own like Red Bull and other companies like that. But they are really good at repurposing their content. So for example, like the Baby Shark, they have the song and they have the characters. But then they take the song, so they made, for example, special Baby Shark Halloween, special Baby Shark Christmas. So they're using the same song, but then they'll put like a Halloween costume or like a Christmas hat on one of them. Or they'll take like the same characters and do a different song. So with actually like a very limited content bank, and I'm not saying they have limited content in general, they have a shitload of content, but they're so good at like switching it up. And that's the same with My Little Baby Bum. They'll take a couple of characters and switch it all up. So it's like, it's such clever, and kids love repetition. So it's such clever like use. Baby Shark has now crossed 7.043 billion views on YouTube. Billion
That's
views.
where we're going with this here.
Yeah, and actually, so if you look at like the rest of the list, so I said there's always this battle between children's content and music. So if you look at, okay, so that's number one. Well, what are all the other things? So we know like Despacito is now then number 2. Number 3 is the song Shape of You. And number 4, 7, and 8 are also songs. So for example, like number 8 is the Gangnam Style, which has been viewed 3.8 billion times. But then number 5 and 6, they're kids content as well. For example, there's Masha and the Bear, which has been viewed 4.4 billion times. I actually saw that for the first time this morning, not willingly. I'll let you know. And number 5 was Johnny Johnny Yes Papa, which is also one of those where there's like a baby and they're singing a song and he's eating sugar and he's not allowed to eat sugar.
That statistic is very controversial because if you ask most parents out there, they would say they're trying to limit the usage of like online services of their kids. But look at that. It's like all the top places are taken by kids content, which means kids are constantly online.
Kids are constantly being placed in front of YouTube to entertain themselves or sometimes together. I mean, think about how many times we put on YouTube or one of our other music services when we're having a party or when we're in the shower or when we're cooking, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that like kids usage supersedes all young adults and adults usage is crazy. But I think also like there are competitions like, Spotify. But again, there are big competitions to YouTube for kids content as well. Like they could be doing like Disney or Netflix. So yeah, so you're probably right that this says something about like that it goes up with the pandemic, says something about, like how we're using technology and streaming services to entertain our kids, which it's not to hate on parents. I'm doing this myself all the time. Like it's been a really, really tough thing to balance work and taking care of kids in the middle of a pandemic.
That's true. I have 2 boys as well. And I'm using YouTube as like a digital babysitter. If I have something to do, I know that I can play YouTube and it'll take care of the kids at least for half an hour and they'll say nothing.
Yeah, I'm just really lucky that my son loves whales. So Elliot is a complete whale fanatic. And if I've learned something during the pandemic, it's, for example, that whales used to be something called pachycetus, which actually like was a dog-looking animal that like went into the ocean and became a whale. So not like a lot of evolution we've seen was the opposite. Like things come out of the ocean and begin to crawl. This was the exact opposite. And then we're at this museum with whales, and you could actually see that inside like the whales actually still, some of them have fingers like in the skeleton. Yeah.
Wow.
Which I'm pretty excited that like Elliot, he's almost 5, so he's kind of moved out of a lot of like My Little Baby Bum, Johnny, and this Pinkfong universe into more like Encyclopedia of Whales. Thank God, like the survival of the nerd, I've passed on that gene, so I'm watching that content instead, which I'm pretty excited about.
For all the parents out there, don't be scared. It looks scary at the beginning, but it turns out very educational. Your kids can spend time online.
I think some of it is really educational. For example, like Bob the Train. But there are other things that sometimes like I get a little worried. So for example, I've noticed Elliot sometimes watching like Minecraft, which I think the language in there is not appropriate for a 4, almost 5-year-old. So I've banned Minecraft. And a couple of other things. Like he's really fascinated with this. I mean, I guess like I'm 35, so I find this like wildly strange. But people like to watch people play games, right? And we've known this for a while. It's like now people go in. I was invited to a conference that was canceled in San Diego, where you were supposed to watch like 20,000 people watch people play against each other, some sort of video game. Like that to me, it's like I'm a lost cause on that. Like for me, like tech has ended before. Like gaming to me is not like it's not a sport. That's for sure.
Esports.
It is not an esport.
It is a huge
It
thing.
is not a sport. Like requires like more than like moving of fingers.
Yeah, say that to chess players.
Yeah, I mean that is a good argument. But like I will never view e-sport or what I will call gaming as a sport.